Welcome to the Sunday Soul Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Lisa Brewer, and today I have a very special guest, Josiah Begin. He is my business partner, my dear friend, and this is a recent interview we did on how to create multiple streams of income from the Week of Kindness back a few months ago. So sit back, enjoy, and be sure you're taking notes. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Sunday Soul Podcast. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Week of Kindness. I am your host for this segment and one of the sponsors of this wonderful week, Dr. Lisa Brewer. And I have with me not only my business partner, but a dear friend of mine. And he is an amazing, amazing man. You guys want to sit up, take notes, listen. I want you to listen with your ears and with your heart. Josiah Begin, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well.
Oh, so happy to be here.
I am ecstatic. I am so glad that you were able to make this, and I'm so glad we were able to do this in person.
Right.
So we were just chatting, right? You are the CEO and founder of Josiah Co. I mean, that was a difficult name to come up with, I'm
so
sure.
Hard. It was very challenging. I was like, Josiah, that sounds good.
Okay, that's great.
Josiah Co.
That's great.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Put a lot of energy into it.
But I think that it is quite appropriate. I met you, it's about 8 months now ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I met you about 8 months ago at a function. You were actually emceeing a virtual summit, and amazing energy. And then we connected thereafter. But now knowing you a bit more, I understand why Josiah Co. actually, there could be no other name. Mm-hmm. There could be no other name. You have quite a story. You have sold snacks since primary school to your friends and your family. In middle school, you actually built and sold websites.
Yeah. Yeah. It was in MySpace.
Middle school.
MySpace profiles. Yeah, with HTML. Lots of fun. Coding.
You guys remember?
Coding and designing at the same time was great.
I didn't even know it was possible with MySpace.
Yeah, you could. I had the back was like animated. There were like things happening with colors.
That is amazing. But then even more amazing, in high school, you ran a friend's multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was an amusement park. So you had a lot of interesting characters there.
Yeah.
Being young and being the boss of a lot of people that would probably be considered carnies by most.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting dynamic for sure. You have a lot of people that have been through some life, and here they are talking to this little 14-year-old hey, how do I do this? When do I do this? And it just always felt natural for me.
Absolutely. So I say all that to say this, that you have always been an entrepreneur. Business development seems to just be in your DNA. It's in your blood. It pumps through your heart, right? And when I met you, I asked you what you did. And then you told me that you help businesses, 7-figure businesses, grow to 8 and beyond. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, wow, how much does that cost? And then quickly realized if I had to ask the cost, I couldn't afford the service. So this is a treat, guys. So tell us a little bit about, how did you get to this point of helping 7-figure businesses? You've had some amazing stories, right? 7-figure businesses grow to 8. Talk to us a little bit about what goes into your thought process. How does that happen?
So my first business I actually started when I was 19, my first 7-figure business.
Wow.
I always usually when I start my talks, I normally say I got this book called How to Be a Teenage Millionaire when I was 9, and I was so excited, and at the same time I was so upset because I had to wait 4 years to become a millionaire. And I was like, why can't I just have it now? But my first 7-figure business I started when I was 19. We had kiosks and stores in malls. And we started in one state, quickly grew to several cities in several states. I was flying back and forth. I fell in love with taking people who had this hunger and this like drive for life to do things, to build things of themselves, and bring them in, teaching them sales, teaching them how to manage and lead others, and teaching them how to run locations. And there's so many different aspects that go into running a business. And even as just like a manager, there's so many different aspects that you have to focus on. You can't miss a lot of things. So I fell in love with like seeing the progress that people make and seeing the growth that they develop and the understanding, and they like blossom into magical creatures. They go from this like little hungry little worm, like feed me, into these like magical, beautiful creatures. And I had a few friends actually that were like, hey, how do I do this? Or how would I build this? Or I'm focusing on this thing and it's failing here. What should I do? So I just naturally started giving advice. And then someone was like, I want to pay you for this. And I was like, okay, all right.
Wow.
I wouldn't mind that. That's okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
And then from there, I just started doing that with more and more business owners. And then I eventually got to these like massive startups that had millions and millions of dollars of funding. And they were like, we don't know what to do with this. Where do we invest this? How do we do this? And we started focusing on how to work on their messaging and their branding and where to invest their money, and how to properly launch so that the investors' money went to the best places they possibly could, so they could get the best outcomes they possibly could. And I guess the rest is history.
The rest is history, as they say. So I found that your title for today, Burn Baby Burn, and not Disco Inferno, Burn Baby Burn, Why You Lost More Money Than You Made Last Year. Now that might be a tad bit of a sore spot for a lot of us.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah, you hit it right here. You got it. As an entrepreneur, and as you encounter entrepreneurs, a lot of us have come from corporate America where we have all the things done for us, right? And we probably had great success in corporate America and didn't find that it was, what we wanted to do. Or other kind of mid-sized businesses, which is fine, but we had other people to do other things, and we don't even know how to account for how much money we honestly made and didn't make. So when I read that title, I thought, I don't even know if I want to look at my books to see if that's true. Tell us a little bit, what do we do? How do we know? What do we do? Tell us all the things.
Well, how many entrepreneurs in the first place even look at their books? I mean, you know how many times I've been like, show me your numbers. I'm like, and I'm like, okay, I'm used to it by now. If someone has their numbers, I'm like, at that point, I'm like, okay, wow, I'm impressed, because most entrepreneurs don't have their numbers at all whatsoever.
Right.
So when you're an entrepreneur, you have to wear so many hats, right? And you're working in the business. We've all heard this. Working inside the business, you don't really have the opportunity to work outside of the business or on the business, right? So when you're working in the business and you have so many things going on, you miss a lot of things that have to do with how you're delivering what you have to offer. And you do so many things that you're not getting paid for that most people get paid for. And you don't even realize it,
Things like what? Give us an example.
There's so many different programs. This one's a simple one. So there's so many different programs that we all use and that we have our clients use that you can make money just from the referral. So affiliate and being an affiliate in general, it's spoken about a lot, but when people are newer, they don't realize. And when people are in their business, they're like, oh yeah, affiliates, I've heard of that. Yet they don't take advantage of any of it, right? Having an affiliate relationship with businesses that have monthly subscriptions, monthly money coming in.
Wow.
Every single month.
Wow.
Every time that someone that's one of your clients gets that hit on their credit card, they're paying for something, you get a hit to the bank.
Wow.
And if you have and you serve lots of people over and over again, it's money that they're going to spend it anyways. It's not like you're asking for anything extra. It's just money that a portion of it goes to you. And it's kind of like, because you're the salesperson, that business is going to spend money on advertising and marketing. Instead of having to spend the money on advertising and marketing that it would in order to acquire that client, you're the referrer. So therefore you get paid kind of as like the salesperson in that sense for that. So that's just one of them. Another one that's really huge is we do things and we give people advice and we push people in certain ways. I can think of one client specifically. I had a client who was, this is so random, a farmer up in New England. And he would say that he had different farmers that he would help out with applying for grants.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, I'll sit on the phone and talk to them for like an hour, and I'll explain to them like what they need to do in order to put in stuff for a grant.
Right.
And I'll just like say, do this and then do this and make sure you record this and type out this. And I'm like, an hour. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And he's a farmer, so like he loves helping people. He's all about agriculture. He's a giant nerd, and I love him. I love my nerds. I'm totally a nerd. If you couldn't tell by the programming computers and whatnot when I was a kid. But he was so focused on helping farmers and so focused on like making sure the farmers get the right details that he didn't realize that people get paid to apply for grants.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually different companies that help you apply for grants. So the thing that he was doing, so many people get paid for. And the crazy thing was he was so good at applying for grants that the state recognized him as like one of the best, like he was the go-to person.
Oh my gosh.
If someone was in the state and they were working and someone came to them like, hey, I want to apply for a grant, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
They would send them to him.
Oh
so
my
he
gosh.
already had the recognition for it. And so when I started working with him, he was making about like $70,000 a year. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm making $70,000 a year. This is like a farmer.
Right.
$70,000 profit. Yeah, let's get this.
Yeah.
And he was he didn't say it like that. Right. but he was like very celebratory of it, right? And by the time we broke it down, just making this grant company out of what he was already doing, there was no extra time. The only extra time was like he had to hire an assistant in order to make sure that like the stuff was written and sent in. Very, very minimal. This assistant was probably it was part-time, so it was like $20,000 a year maybe for an assistant. And this person would take down all the information, and then he would look over it, and then they'd submit it. So another thing is when you have a grant company, when you submit grants, if you win a grant, you actually have the opportunity to keep a portion of it. So like there's only so much grant money that's available within a state or a county. And when you apply for it, it's very, very common. The same way that a lawyer would get money if they win a case.
Exactly.
You get to keep a portion of the grant.
Sure.
So he started charging for helping people to apply for the grants, as well as collecting a portion of the grants.
Gotcha.
There was one other thing that he was doing where he was advising on solar companies, and he was
How?
Yeah. So there's solar companies. They're dual use. So basically, it allows you to farm underneath, and it also, this is like so nerdy, but there's the point to this, I swear. We're
getting there, guys. We're getting there.
So there's the farming underneath, and then there's also the energy that it's above, so you can still farm below it. So the energy comes from above. So you can make money from the crops as well as money from the energy source, right? So he was advising hourly on this. And I was like, okay, that's great, like wonderful. How much involved are you in this whole program, like the whole process? And he's like, well, I'm going to be through the whole thing. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you be like considered a partner in it? Like if you're going through a joint venture, and you're also going to bring them a lot more leads because you're talking to all these farmers. And he was like, Anyways, there were like 3 or 4 more things that we added to his business that he was already doing. Literally, we added, I think, 2 employees. And he ended up working less because he brought on the employees, and he went from like $70,000 a year to around $7 million a year.
That is
just
incredible.
From like what he was already doing.
That is incredible. It's like this concept of what you have in your hand, and sometimes we don't realize the value of what we're doing because we don't want to seem as if we're trying to gouge someone or use someone, and we just generally and genuinely want to be of assistance, not understanding, and I don't think, and not honoring that we sacrificed something, probably a lot of some things, for all of that information. And that information is valuable, and you should receive compensation, right? It's actually a great law, right? Of I'm not blocking your blessing if I allow you to sow into me. Because I'm going to sow right back into you. So there, I'm understanding you. There are just various ways that we could have been making more money last year.
Absolutely. Hence the loss more than you earned.
Wow. Yeah. What recommendation, kind of high level, would you have for someone, an entrepreneur, looking at their business? Like what, you talked about affiliate, right? Because I tell my clients all the time, hey, go use this program or go use that program because I happen to love it, right? And I find it useful. So that's great, guys. So check for that. But I also want to know, are there any other like easy peasy ways, like things to look for?
Absolutely. So one thing that I would look at is anything that you're already doing, things that people are coming to you for advice for, things that you're doing for people as kind of like an add-on without charging for it, or something that you're kind of doing to make sure that the care of the client is really like superior. You can usually charge for those things. Another thing is, if you don't already have great relationships with people who work with you, alongside of you, like also in the needs of what your clients have.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're a farmer, if you don't have a relationship with like a fertilizer company, you should have that. Because every time that you say, hey, this fertilizer company should work with you, you're making business for the farmer and for the fertilizer company. So you should take a portion of that deal. And there's actually, in corporate America, there's a lot of different like referral fees, basically, bonuses that you get from making those connections. So you should create those relationships with people you trust that provide the type of quality work that you want to provide, the same par as where you're at. Make those relationships, make those agreements beforehand, and then every time you refer them, make sure you collect that money. So that way, every time that you're making that connection, that person's very grateful for the business. The same way that like the online companies that have the products and the programs are grateful for your business. People that are in a business that is kind of, let's say, lateral to you, that they both feed from the same. It's great to make those connections and make sure you have it in writing. Usually is better than anything. A lot of the business I do is actually by word, believe it or not. But it's great to have things in writing. So that way, when you're dealing with bigger deals, if you're going to have to go out and collect $1 million, it's in writing. And it's something that you agreed to beforehand, so it's not really a big deal at all. Another one would be, as you're looking at what you give, see if there's any portions on something that you provide that people have wanted, like the same thing but a different version. And what I mean by that is, like, maybe you have a certain program that you offer and someone had a certain question about that program. So like, let's say, for example, you teach how to jump rope and someone's like, I really love jump roping. Do you know how to double dutch? And this is a really random example, very childish, but easy. Very much me to go to the child section. What would a kid do? So you go to the double dutch and you're like, so many people are asking me how to double dutch. And then you make a double dutch course. And then that you put over here. Exactly. And it's what you're already talking about. If anything, it's going to save you time, because instead of explaining it over and over and over again to so many different people, you put it in a course, you put it right here. And then when people say, how do you double dutch? You go, there you go. And then they buy it. You don't have to do any work. It's recorded. It's magical.
Here it is. There it is.
So there's a lot of things that are like upfront that you do that you put there, and they get later.
That is amazing. Well, this is the week of kindness, guys. And so I think that potentially, possibly, you might have a gift.
No gifts. No. Nothing for free. No, I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
That is like business 101. There you go. That's why he made more money year over year and continues to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
okay.
Yes, I do have a free gift. I do have a free gift. So, actually, the gift I have is the secret formula to a profitable product.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
So the secret formula to a profitable product. So what it does really is it breaks down what you should be focusing on building. I'm going to get a little bit deeper into this in the program. But basically what happens is we have so many things that we offer. Take, for example, the farmer. He has these plans that he'll spend hours and hours and hours on. And he has to go to the farm. He has to like collect all the information. He has to write it down. He has to review it. He has to have someone submit all the data. And then he has to talk back and forth in between the farmer and whoever is advising with like loans or anything like that to get grants or anything like that. And then this grant program, literally all he has to do is take the information, put it on a sheet,
right,
and send it in.
right.
And that's all he does. And
Right.
he makes like 50 times more over here than he does over here.
Uh-huh.
So in the secret formula.
Yes, secret formula.
It goes through how you can figure out, first of all, which products are the best for you.
Sure.
Right?
Amazing.
Like, which product should you focus on that's going to make you the most money, that's going to take the least amount of time, the least amount of effort.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all like important products, right? They're not just, it's not just something that you're like, whip something together and sell it for a lot. You know? It's something that's really going to impact and people really need. So someone who is going to apply for a grant, they could do so much with that grant, right? And it's free money. Right. It's free money for them. Right. So even if they're having to pay for it and they're even having a portion of it given, it's free money for them. So that's going to benefit their business so much. Absolutely. And we all provide things that help people so much. And there's just different sectors that they go into where this one will like super, super fast. When you first saw me talk, we talked about burgers and fries and drinks. Yes, we did. Yes, I remember. People were like, where are you going with this? Yeah, I'm like, what is this all about? Like, I'm so hungry already. Where are we eating now? Is it lunchtime? Right. And Uber Eats had not arrived. It was, oh no, that's terrible. It's not good. It's not good. Yeah. So with the burgers and the fries and the drinks, the burgers take the most amount of time. Sure. And it attracts the client, but the sodas make the most money. Even though you're just like going like this, filling up a cup and giving to someone, because the margins are like this, the amount of time that the employee has to do to put in a cup to soda and then sell it is like virtually nothing, basically, versus having to put all this burger together, and then the margins on a burger are much less than on a soda. Right. So in this program, it goes through like, what is your burger? What is your soda? How do you focus on which? And then also it goes into where should you have your employees focus? So whether it be you, not everyone has employees, right? Right. Whether you have yourself or yourself and a team, like what should you be focusing on selling? Yes. And what can you automate? What can you delegate? Yes. Kind of making the flow super easy. Guys, I can tell you, like from firsthand, I have been through this program. And even if you're in the service industry like I am, where it's, you know, I'm teaching and whatnot, like it's not like hard goods. Right. This will help you see things in a very concrete way that we need to. As solopreneurs or entrepreneurs with a team, it is amazing how you're then able to translate it. So you guys absolutely click that link that's next. I mean, watch us and then click that link. Just go to it. Or go just now. Open up another window, put this on pause. Oh yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys about money, dinero, dollar bills, dollar bills, the green. We're going to talk about that for just a second. Listen, I'm going to get you back to your program here. I want to tell you guys about a very, very special event that Josiah and I are having on August the 27th at noon Eastern. It's going to start at noon. It is our first ever money consciousness masterclass. Now, in this masterclass, in these 3 short hours, we are going to go from having these old perceptions about money and how it operates and how we should be interacting with it. So we're going to release these old perceptions. We're going to think about and learn about how do we really actually think about money. What would it mean if we thought differently? How millionaires think, flowing in the energy of money, different sources of income, hot seat coaching, and then workbooks and worksheets are going to be going along with all of this. The VIP section, because you know I got to have a VIP, you're going to get the recordings of the events, a wealth strategy checklist, multiple sources of income planning, discount on the future courses, and a 20-minute one-to-one wealth coaching session with myself, Josiah, or a member of the team. I want you to go to the site mcm.limitlesslightworker.me. Register today for either the regular sign up, the regular ticket, or the VIP ticket. That is mcm.limitlesslightworker.me, or follow the link
in the show notes or in the description box below. I can't wait to see you there. I can't wait for you to flow in the energy of money in the same way that you flow in the energy of light, love, and healing. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, so now I want you to tell us a little bit more about how one can work with you. What do you do? Like, how do people get into working with you, and what do you do right now? What's Josiah doing right now?
So I actually have a group program right now that is a little bit more affordable for someone who's like starting out in their business. Maybe they haven't hit 6 figures yet. They're really trying to work to a higher spot to be able to really blast off. And then I do one-on-one. The one-on-one, I usually work with people who are somewhere into the 6 figures because it is a little bit more costly, as you were saying earlier. But the reason why is because we deep dive into every single portion of what the business is doing. We go in and see like where the kinks are, what needs to kind of be needed out, and build structure. And the biggest thing that I love to do, build structure. It's like, oh, gotta get the structure. So the thing that I really love to do when I work with one-on-one is, and no one else that I've ever met does this, I build the business around the person. So we're all taught like this is the business you build and just like make your life work around it, right? Like dedicate these hours, do these things, focus on these, and then just like find time when you can. And the very first thing I do with any client is I sit down and I say, what is the life that you want to live? Like, what does your week look like? And when you get into like self-development, there's a lot of like people out there that's like, what is the life you'd like to live? What is your perfect life? And it feels like very fluffy and like, okay, where's the meat of this? You know? Right. So when I first sit down with a client and they've paid me like $5,000 to work with me, and they're paying like $60,000 a year, and they're like, okay, so I just started, and you're asking me like what I like to do for fun, and I'm like, no, that's not what I'm wanting at all. So when you're building a business, it's so important to understand how you're going to be involved. Because if you don't understand how you're going to be involved and how much you can show up, there's no way to know how you can build a structure around it. And that's why it's so important to know how the business owner wants to live. Because if you don't have an understanding of like, I want to be here these hours, or I don't want to be there at all, if you want to be there a certain amount of hours, great, you can build your team around it. If you don't want to be there at all, or you barely want to show up, you're going to have to hire a CEO, or you're going to have to hire someone to run the business. And you can kind of just make the decisions as like a strategist. But unless you have that understanding of what you really want, you don't know what you're building. And that's why I start with every client going into what they want. So it's not like all the poo-poo of like, what do you want? It actually is like, what do you want? It's like the Notebook scene where it's like, what do you want? Right, exactly.
But you know what? But that is very interesting to me, because if you have no idea what you want, right? We do try to fit our lives into our business when the whole reason we got into business is so we could have a life.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like, or do you find that when people have no direction, that's when they burn out?
Yeah.
And that's when you see a lot of loss.
Yeah, I just spoke to someone who owns a car dealership a few days ago.
Okay.
A friend of a friend. My friend was like, hey, can you come just see what's going on? My friends, they get some extra bonuses. But I'm like, hey, Josiah, can you come over and check in on some things?
It's a good deal.
So I'm like, sure, yeah, I'll come. I love her. She's a great person. So I went over and I kind of checked it out, and I had this conversation with him, and he sat down with me, and he was just going through the normal, like, this is how I run this is how customers, and we went to dinner afterwards, and he sat down with me, and he was like, I had a minute last night where I really thought it was the end.
Wow.
He was like, I was sitting in my chair, and there was this immense pain, and I started to, like, lean over, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was sitting there thinking, this is the end, because he's so stressed out from being at work all day, every day.
Wow.
And the people he brings on, they don't stay, they don't perform the way he wants. People take advantage of how generous he is. He'll be paying someone, they won't show up for work. Then there's like a customer that's upset, then the customer leaves a bad review. And like he works all day long, and because of the way that his business runs, it doesn't really even run with him, to be honest. But because it can't run without him and there's not the proper structure there, he's getting completely stretched out. And that causes burnout. It literally can cause heart attacks. I've seen people have strokes. I've seen people have all different kinds of like failures within their body because they're stressed out. So if you don't have a plan and you don't have the structure, you're not able to see from that eagle's eye and understand like these are the next steps. This is how you build a team to support you. If you want to step out, this is what you need to do in order to get there. Unless you have those things, you're going to stretch yourself so thin.
And honestly, I can say this in my own world. That's when I've always suffered, not just physical loss, which is greater than anything, but monetary loss as well. Because you're so in the weeds, right? You're not up here, you're way down here. You can't see what's going on. You cannot possibly juggle all the balls, and you can't keep them in the air.
Right.
So you end up not even realizing what you've done or what you haven't done or where you've lost. Or, I mean, I don't know how many entrepreneurs, I'm sure you run across them, have no clue if somebody's paid their monthly, subscription. Like all of a sudden they're looking at their bank account and they've got maybe 4 or 5, invoices left out here open. And it's like, but what do you do, right? So without structure and without someone like yourself or coach, whomever, a mentor to come in and help, because you can't see everything.
No, nobody can. Like even me, I don't see obviously I don't see all the things in my business. I have other people say, hey, that's just the way it works. I have a few people that I really trust and I'm like, hey, do you have an internal look at this? But if you don't have that, person to go to, you got to find it, because otherwise you're not going to get to where you need to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to invest in yourself.
You have to invest in your business, yourself and your business.
Yes. Investing in yourself is investing in your business.
Exactly. That's very, very true.
Yeah.
Most people can't find the power to invest in themselves. So that's why I love working with business owners. I've always loved helping people with self-development. But the reason why I've never really pushed into the self-development world is because so many people will sit there and they'll be like, oh, this book was so fabulous, and then do nothing afterwards. Right. But when you have a business in front of you and there's people that you have to pay and there's food that you have to put on people's table, you have to do things. You can't just sit and be like, the book was fabulous.
Right,
you have
exactly.
to take action. You have to. Otherwise, everything is going down in flames.
And literally, burn, baby, burn. I got it. That's so profound. I hope you all really grasped that. And it's not like anyone saying, oh, we're not talking about you, we're not making you, this is not a guilt thing.
No.
This literally is, we are all here this week because we want to help you, and we want you to get into good community and get into relationship with someone that's just going to be fabulous and be able to help you rise to live the purpose that you are always meant to live. Now, this has been special.
Yes.
And absolutely fabulous. Josiah, do you have anything that you would like to leave us with as we wrap this up today?
Yes. As an entrepreneur, as a person, believe in yourself. And don't forget to breathe. Because we go, we hustle, we learn. But you have to remember to enjoy every single moment. In the joy. Enjoy. You have to enjoy every single moment. And if you slow down, you actually can learn faster, because you pick up on things that are happening around you. And I've always been all about strategy, right? I've always been all about the planning and the understanding of how it's going to work. And you can't do that in a fast-paced environment. So sometimes you have to take a step aside, breathe, make a serious plan, and then take action.
I got nothing else. Wise words. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
My honor.
We should do it again sometime.
I think so. Maybe a lot of times.
Maybe lots of times.
Guys, thank you so much for being with us. We so very much appreciate it. I want you to stay tuned for the next segment. I want you to go grab the free gift that Josiah has for us, and also sign up for that group. You never know. I might actually be there. Like, it's kind of amazing. Sign up for that group, guys. We have a great time. So please, I can't wait to see you guys. Okay, have a great rest of your week. We will see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Sunday Soul Podcast. Peace, love, blessings, and joy be unto you today, tomorrow, and for all eternity. We love you so much. Namaste. Bye-bye.